Tonight, dangerous wildfire smoke triggers alerts across most of the country.
The air quality was just horrific, and it really looked like dystopia.
A harmful haze blanketing millions across Canada, while in BC, the race to contain an out-of-control wildfire burning on Vancouver Island. In the face of Trump's tariff hike, Canada pushes ahead in search of a deal.
We'll come to something with the Americans, something constructive with the Americans.
And the soaring cost of a summer staple.
There's no really good substitute for a hamburger or a steak on the barbecue.
Why beef prices are rising so high so quickly.
From CBC News, this is The National with Asha Tomlinson.
Thanks for joining us. Ian is away. Right across the country, Canadians are contending with wildfires this holiday weekend. Some forced out by flames, while others are forced inside by the smoke. This fire on BC's Vancouver Island is prompting the evacuation of hundreds of homes. It's one of more than 700 Canadian wildfires burning right now. And all that smoke is a problem. Air quality warnings and statements stretching from BC to the Northwest Territories to New Brunswick. It's creating hazy skies and hazardous conditions for everyone breathing it in. Stephanie Cram starts our coverage tonight with a closer look at the health impacts.
Thompson, Manitoba, choked by smoke.
The air quality was just horrific, and it really looked like dystopia.
Nearby wildfires caused the air quality health index to soar to dangerous levels this weekend in northern Manitoba. A similar scene in Yellowknife, and further west in Tlilakwe First Nation in Fort Simpson.
The smoke is still prevalent in the air. You can smell it creeping through the doors and through the cracks in the windows.
Chief Kaylee Antoine says his community is trying its best to protect the vulnerable, including elders, from the smoke.
Just making sure we're offering N95 masks. We do have some at our band office. We did buy a whole bunch of air purifiers.
That smoke seen throughout much of Canada, Saskatoon, Montreal, Toronto, all blanketed. People being warned to limit their time outdoors. And stretching south of the border, hazy skies in Iowa, and ahead of Chicago's Lollapalooza, music fans came prepared.
We definitely took precautions too. We have everything in our hotel to make sure, we're all safe, all good to go.
With festivals and more people outside for the long weekend, experts say it's important to keep in mind how the smoke can affect the body.
We clearly see things like during smoke events, there's more people having physician visits for respiratory conditions. We see it in ambulance dispatch calls.
With far-reaching health implications.
It's affecting the heart. We see impacts on individuals with diabetes. And our recent research is really focusing on mental health effects and cognition, so things like dementia.
Experts say the simplest way to cope, stay indoors. And if you have to go outside, wear an N95 mask. Stephanie Cram, CBC News, Edmonton.
Now to that wildfire causing so much concern on Vancouver Island tonight. Officials say it's still growing, still burning out of control. And as Mira Bain shows us, it's already forced hundreds of people from their homes.
From the sky, crews go on the attack, dropping buckets of water on the Wesley Ridge wildfire burning on BC's Vancouver Island. It's still growing, the size now an estimated 4 square kilometers. But smoke is making it hard for officials to get a clear handle on how big it is. An evacuation order is in effect.
My dogs, my bird, her eggs that she laid a couple weeks ago. We were told to get out of the village.
Cloudy skies and cooler temperatures seem like signs of hope, but strong winds remain a big worry. And the BC Wildfire Service says no rain is expected until midweek. The conditions tough for attack crews.
It's very, very steep, and the terrain, it hasn't been logged in there for a long, long time. So the trees are large, it's steep, and it's bone dry.
The regional district of Nanaimo says fire crews are working around the clock.
They're using night vision so they can go all night on this fire.
Dozens of firefighters and structural protection specialists, as well as 7 helicopters, are helping to fight the fire.
You know, it could be a disaster for us, so, you know, the guys are on the floor here doing the best they can, and us as community members, we're ready to stand by the fire department and fight the fire if necessary.
Hundreds of homes are under evacuation order. More are under evacuation alert. And officials are urging people to stay off nearby lakes when fire crews are working, trying to scoop up water.
Any interaction between those aircraft and a personal watercraft or an individual, at best will delay the fire response, and at worst will be a very difficult and dangerous interaction that we really, really must avoid.
The fire is suspected to have been caused by human activity. Officials don't want the fight to be delayed by more. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
Wildfires in northern Manitoba are forcing a mandatory evacuation of more than 3,000 people in Nisitchaway Cree Nation. The remote community is about 850 kilometers north of Winnipeg. There's only one road out of town, and officials are concerned a nearby fire could soon block that path. There are new signs tonight. Mark Carney will speak with Donald Trump in the coming days as elevated U.S. tariffs on Canadian exports take hold. Karen Paul's now on the continued efforts to land a deal.
Prime Minister Mark Carney at Vancouver's Pride Parade. Dialed in on the celebration.
Let's focus on pride. Look, Canada's strong. We can give ourselves far more than anyone can take away.
But unable to shake questions about trade and tariffs.
Building Canada, building in a Canadian way, building sustainably, building together, building positively, and that's what we're going to do. And yes, we'll come to something with the Americans, something constructive with the Americans.
His minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade also talking tariffs on American television.
So we're going to continue to do the work. We left always with a better understanding of the American concerns in the trading relationship.
Dominic LeBlanc left Washington last week without a deal, but says there's still room for a resolution that brings economic certainty to both sides of the border.
We believe there's a great deal of common ground between the United States and Canada in terms of building two strong economies that work well together.
LeBlanc says he also expects Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump to speak over the next few days. Trump raised the tariff rate to 35% on some Canadian exports to the U.S., effective August 1st. Trump left for his golf resort in New Jersey this weekend with no public events, but his team is still talking, attempting to show strength, but leaving room for negotiations.
The president is trying to fix the terms of trade with Canada, and if there's a way to a deal, we'll find it. And if it's not, we'll have the tariff levels that we have.
We have 8 deals that cover about 55% of world GDP with our biggest trading partners. For the deals that aren't ready yet, they're going to get the reciprocal rates soon, and then we would expect that there might continue to be negotiations with those countries.
You know, about 95% of Canada's exports remain duty-free, though key sectors, steel, aluminum, autos, lumber, and copper are deeply affected. Last week, Carney said a deal entirely without tariffs is improbable and that negotiations will determine their size and scope.
Now, Hassett mentioned reciprocal tariffs. When those were first announced in the spring, markets tanked and Trump hit pause. But his team insists that won't happen again.
Yeah, they say tariffs are here to stay. Some within his team also say more recently markets have reacted positively to Trump's policies. They don't expect another downturn, but Asha, analysts will be watching.
They will, that's for sure. Karen Paul's in Washington. Thank you. In the Middle East, new video purportedly showing another Israeli hostage has been released. The images are distressing, but their family chose to share them to highlight what their son is going through. As Philip Lishanik shows us, this comes amid more devastation in Gaza and new accusations against Israel.
The Palestine Red Crescent Society, a provider of emergency services in Gaza, says its headquarters was the target of a deliberate Israeli airstrike, releasing these unverified images. It says one staff member was killed and 3 people wounded. Israel's military says it's reviewing the accusation. Also in Han Yunis, a school used as a shelter was hit by an overnight strike. Zaki Al-Masri says there was no warning.
A huge bomb. 4 kids is burned where he's eating the food.
Israel has not commented on that incident, but Gaza's health ministry says about 100 people were killed over the course of 24 hours, most near aid sites. It adds 6 people died from starvation in the same period. Hamas says the lack of food entering Gaza is also putting the remaining hostages at risk. Israeli officials believe about 20 are still alive. Islamic Jihad released a video of 22-year-old Israeli hostage Ram Brazlovsky. In it, he pleads for food to be let into Gaza. On Friday, Hamas released a video showing hostage Evyatar David. He appears in a tunnel looking emaciated. CBC News cannot independently verify either video or when they were recorded. His brother Ile David joined other families in condemning the hostage video, saying it's part of a propaganda campaign by Hamas.
As we understand, Hamas men are eating. They have plenty of food, they have plenty of water, and they are starving their own people and the hostages as part of their twisted, crazy campaign.
The video sparked protests by the families of hostages and a request to have the Red Cross bring them food and medicine. Hamas says it's open to the request with conditions including permanent humanitarian corridors. But Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the images of emaciated hostages have strengthened his resolve to eliminate Hamas. Philip Shannock, CBC News, Toronto.
Israel's far-right national security minister is facing backlash after praying at the al-Aqsa compound in Jerusalem, violating a decades-old arrangement. Itamar Ben-Gvir led hundreds of Jews to the site, which is the holiest in Judaism and third holiest in Islam. While there, he also repeated his call for Israel to take all of Gaza and encourage Palestinians to leave. Under the current rules, Jews may visit al-Aqsa, but only Muslims can pray there. Israel's prime minister later stated that agreement has not changed. Russian officials say a Ukrainian drone attack on an oil depot near Sochi sparked a massive fire. More than 100 firefighters worked to extinguish the flames after debris from the drone struck a fuel tank. Russia says Ukraine launched several drone attacks over the weekend. Ukraine has not commented on the incident. Also in Russia, a volcano erupted for the first time in hundreds of years. It was followed by an earthquake, which led to tsunami warnings. Experts say both events could be connected to the massive earthquake that hit Russia last week. Canada's Summer McIntosh has made more history at the World Aquatic Championship. She's now only the second woman to ever win 4 solo titles at the Worlds. But as Kwabena Oduro shows us, despite some impressive new personal bests, one major goal did elude her.
Winning her 4th individual gold medal at the World Aquatic Championship, Summer McIntosh chose to look on the bright side.
So overall happy with this World Championships. I have to be. 4 golds is something that I've never achieved at the world stage before. I broke my kind of curse of 3. Everything comes in 3s, but now everything comes in 4s, and hopefully I can push for everything to come in 5s.
McIntosh is now only the second woman in history to win 4 solo titles at a single long course Worlds. Her U.S. rival, Katie Ledecky, set that record 10 years ago.
And Ledecky wins the gold again, a 7 times champion in this event. Pallister takes the silver, McIntosh the bronze.
On Saturday, Ledecky came in first in the highly anticipated 800-meter race, ending McIntosh's hope of winning 5 gold medals in 1 championship.
Even though I fell short of my goal in the 200 fly and overall with the gold medal count, I mean, it's not a failure whatsoever. 4 golds is 4 golds, and I have so many amazing takeaways and so many lessons that I can learn from this meet, and that's what's going to keep pushing and moving me forward.
With that bronze, McIntosh is now one of just 3 swimmers to win 5 individual medals at a world championship.
to be able to live that live experience moment of someone writing the history of the sport is just, yeah, it's just amazing.
Canada won 8 swimming medals at the World Aquatic Championships, with 18-year-old McIntosh leading the way. She now has 13 career World Championship medals, with 8 gold, 1 silver, and 4 bronze.
We have the potential to watch this for another decade. She already has done things that we've never seen in Canada in this sport. And so we have to take one step back and remember how young she is and how wise and composed she already is.
McIntosh will now be moving to Texas to start training with her new coach, Bob Bowman, who is the former coach of American superstar Michael Phelps. She says that her performance at the Worlds sets the tone for the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. Cubino Duro, CBC News, Montreal.
Another Canadian teenager is celebrating a huge win on the tennis court. Victoria Mboko has secured herself a spot in the National Bank Open quarterfinals after a stunning upset. The 18-year-old appeared in almost disbelief after her shocking straight sets win over top seed and world number 2, Coco Gauff. She's now the lone Canadian left in the singles draw and will play next Monday as she fights for a place in the semifinals. When it comes to big streaming services, one company is now consistently outpacing all the others in Canada.
Over 17 million Canadians watch YouTube every month on the big screen.
How other streaming services are trying to catch up next. Plus, sizzling on the grill is costing a whole lot more.
We have no problems getting beef, but we just got to pay the higher prices for them.
What's driving up the price of beef? And later, a ferocious snapshot off the coast of Halifax.
One of the guests screamed, "Oh, it's coming up, it's coming up."
Face to face with a massive predator. We're back in 2.
It's a good chance to stroke your ego if you want to, be in the spotlight.
Thousands of dancers and musicians join the Grand Parade in Toronto this weekend. It is often the highlight of the Caribbean Carnival, a celebration of culture and freedom. Organizers say this year's theme was Take It Home, representing community and togetherness. The competition is growing between YouTube and other streaming giants as they battle for your views on TV. New numbers show YouTube is currently dominating the market. Ali Chiasson now on how Netflix is trying to catch up.
YouTube and the streaming giants are competing for your living room TV. And according to audience tracker Nielsen, YouTube has been outpacing all of them for 4 consecutive months, meaning more people are watching YouTube on TV.
Over 17 million Canadians watch YouTube every month on the big screen.
Last year, YouTube introduced changes that allow creators to make episodic content, something you can click through with a television remote.
In the living room being the #1 fastest growing screen for YouTube in Canada.
So what's a more traditional streamer like Netflix got to do to keep up?
Netflix is basically trying to meet their viewers where they are, like YouTube.
Media researchers at Toronto Metropolitan University have been studying the YouTubeification of streaming companies and say they're using YouTube as an unofficial R&D lab.
Hi, friends! I'm so excited to learn with you today.
They see a hit, then it's ring ring, Netflix calling.
Hi, would you like to make a version of your show? Netflix might like it too. So it's a cheaper way of doing development without having to pay for the pilot.
Welcome to the Amazing Digital Circus!
The creator of Amazing Digital Circus got that call within 6 months of uploading the pilot on YouTube.
They reached out and they were like, hey, this is something extraordinary.
As with other YouTube to Netflix shows, Amazing Digital Circus gets to keep their YouTube channel. That and creative control is often part of the deal.
We've gotten here because we know what we're doing.
They reach a new audience and licensing money to scale up production. What does the streaming company get out of it? More eyeballs with the potential of original content with the YouTuber.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they haven't done this earlier.
The tug of war over the living room remote isn't over. It's just not only between you and your siblings anymore. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
TV star Loni Anderson is being remembered tonight for the role that won her 2 Emmy Awards.
I'm not as old as I look.
Really? Are you any richer than you looked?
Anderson played the sharp-witted secretary on WKRP in Cincinnati. On the big screen, she co-starred with Burt Reynolds, whom she married, then divorced. Anderson's publicist says she died after a prolonged illness, just days before her 80th birthday. Former Lieutenant Governor of Ontario and philanthropist Hilary Weston has also died. In a statement, her son Galen Weston Jr. says his mother was devoted to her family and believed in the importance of community and service. Weston also worked in the fashion industry as a business leader and model. She was 83 years old. In the midst of summer barbecue season, Canadians are paying a lot more to put their meat on the grill.
We've actually reduced our cow herd in Canada down to the lowest levels we've had since the 80s.
Why the price of beef is soaring. Plus, Inuk actor Anna Lambe on the hit series that celebrates the place she calls home.
We have such vibrant communities that are so full of love and joy and laughter.
The promise of clean, limitless energy gets a Canadian boost.
Our plan is to put our first power plant on the grid in the mid-2030s.
A BC company in the race for fusion. The National breaks down the stories shaping our world next. Health Canada is recalling several models of baby nest beds because they may not be safe. It applies to the B-Chick and Chicure models with the brand name 11. Health Canada says the beds had the potential for falls, strangulation, and entrapment hazards, but there have been no reported incidents or injuries in Canada. It's asking people to stop using the recalled products immediately. Firing up the barbecue and grilling some burgers will cost you a lot more this summer. The price of beef in Canada is surging. Colin Butler explains why.
It's a summer ritual in backyards across Canada. Curling smoke, charred meat, summer's signature scent. But this season, the price tag is rising just as fast as the flames. Ground beef hit a record $14.67 a kilo in May, up 25% from last year and well beyond the rate of inflation.
Beef isn't so expensive that it needs a side of financing just to pay for it, but prices are going to stay pretty high for a while. Sizzling, you might even say.
The cause? Well, demand for beef has always been strong. What's different this year is the drought. Not a one-off, but a stubborn dry spell that's lingered for years, parching Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Last couple of years, we've been really affected by the drought.
With no rain for some areas since April, the cost of feed and hauling water has soared. It means cattle farmers like this one are shrinking their herds.
So we've actually reduced our cow herd in Canada down to the lowest levels we've had since the 80s. And in the US, they're down to the lowest levels since the 60s. So that's really tightened the supply up.
When ranchers raise fewer cattle, it means less beef to go around, pushing prices higher right to the butcher block.
We have real problems getting beef, but we just got to pay the higher prices for them.
Even with record prices, the love for beef isn't going up in smoke. Canadians are willing to pay more, and not just for the taste. Trade tensions have fired up a fresh appetite to buy local, and this expert says when it comes to the grill, beef still wears the crown.
There's no really good substitute for a hamburger or a steak on the barbecue. But if you want to have people to get together for a celebration, not many people are going to want a plant protein burger. They want a hamburger.
Because some traditions, even pricier ones, are just too good to give up. Colin Butler, CBC News, London, Ontario.
Farming is at the heart of a multi-million-dollar settlement by the federal government that's being celebrated by a Saskatchewan First Nation. As Alexander Silberman tells us, it's the latest community to receive compensation for broken treaty promises.
A broken promise finally honored 150 years later.
Today we get to celebrate a monumental moment in our nation's history.
Muscopine Saulteaux Nation welcoming nearly $99 million in compensation from the federal government. The settlement, known as Cows and Plows, recognizing Canada's failure to meet its treaty obligations to help people farm.
That support was meant to help your First Nation develop and prosper. And because it was withheld, your nation and your people did suffer.
The Saskatchewan community is one of 53 First Nations to settle with Ottawa so far, with payouts totaling more than $6.9 billion.
And today Canada is making parts of those wrongs right. It doesn't take away what happened, but they're recognizing that there was some wrongdoing on their part.
The claims stem from promises made in Treaties 4, 5, 6, and 10, which span large parts of Saskatchewan, western Manitoba, and Alberta. First Nations ceded territory to the federal government in the agreements, and in exchange, they were promised payments, reserve land, and provisions, including farming tools, crop seeds, and livestock.
The way in which it was taken on is problematic.
This expert says a one-time payment goes against the spirit of intent in the treaty. She says the promise was about helping First Nations build long-term economic sustainability.
It's not looking at future generations. So what happens when those per capita payments run out?
In Muscopine, the push to address the wrongs of the past is now shifting to the future. The community plans to use the funds for youth programming, housing, and upgrading its water treatment plant. Each of the 1,300 adult residents will also receive $40,000.
We can get ahead of the game and make our own source revenue rather than just relying on the money from the government.
The federal government says resolving outstanding claims is a key step in reconciliation. It remains in active negotiations with a few dozen First Nations across the prairies. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Regina.
Now let's break down the stories shaping our world. A Canadian company has joined the global fusion race, the goal to create clean and renewable energy.
Our plan is to put our first power plant on the grid in the mid-2030s.
An ambitious target that could make Canada leaders for an almost limitless source of power. But first,
I just blew up my life without any sort of plan.
Inuk star Anna Lambe shares her journey from her breakout role to the hit CBC co-production North of North, forging her own path to bring change to her hometown in the far north. Ian Hannah-Mansing sat down with Anna back in March about returning home to take the lead role in the acclaimed Arctic comedy North of North.
Anna, a real pleasure to sit down and talk with you.
No, I'm so excited to chat with you today.
I'm always fascinated when Canadians come from small communities, and Iqaluit, relatively small community, and end up on the world stage. When you were a kid, did you have any idea that you'd have the life you have now?
No, I mean, even 5 years ago, I didn't think I'd have the life I have now, and every new job kind of comes as a surprise. As a kid, it doesn't feel like an option to act, especially growing up in the north. It wasn't, something that anybody was doing really, or not on this stage that I feel like I have now. So it's been really exciting, and everything feels like a new accomplishment.
Not surprisingly, you stood out at a young age. I'm sure you're too modest to point that out yourself, but we got in touch with one of your teachers, Grace May, who said that in high school she realized that you were special in so many ways. And so in the interview with her, one of the things she said is after she looked at something you had written, the voice that you had written in was really really stood out to her. So then she said, I wanted her to hear the voice that she wrote with.
And experience having a microphone in front of her, a spotlight, just her, 300 people listening. And she pulled that off beautifully.
That was at a Remembrance Day ceremony. Do you remember that moment?
I do. I don't remember what I wrote, but I do remember that stage, yeah.
It's just, to me, so cool when teachers recognize kind of future greatness in a student. And I don't know if she played a pivotal role at all in where you've ended up.
I mean, absolutely. She didn't mention that I missed so many English classes in the year following. But in grade 10, she was my drama teacher. And there was this call out for young actors for a workshop for a film called The Grizzlies.
Stop right where you are. Who's got the ball? Come on, guys, you played with him. You know which hand he favors.
She had approached me and said, Anna, I think this is something that you would really enjoy doing. And I was like, me? Not me. I was very shy, I was very quiet, and just very kept to myself. But I thought, why not throw my hat in the ring? I put my name down and I told my dad about it, that I was gonna go and audition for this thing and see what happens. And then I tried to back out, and I got really scared, and I remember sitting on the edge of my bed being like, I can't do this, I can't go audition for something, that's wild. And then my dad had sent me a Facebook message that he was on his way. And I was like, there's no going back now. I'll go do it and see what happens. And with Grace's support, I ended up leaving school for a couple months while we shot The Grizzlies. And Grizzlies kind of was in the back of my mind for a long time.
Spring, these are fantastic.
Thanks. I love The Warrior. Roger would have been totally into it too.
Is there any chance you're ready to come back to school?
So Grizzlies is the beginning of what is a really impressive resume that you have, especially for a relatively young actor. And so Three Pines, based on the Louise Penny books, and True Detective, the latest season of True Detective with Jodie Foster. Is it intimidating at all to work with somebody like Jodie Foster?
I mean, working with someone like Jodie Foster is one of those things where you never think it'll happen. And when my agent and my manager had told me, you got the role, Jodie Foster is like a part of the project, this is going to be really exciting. And I don't think my mind fully wrapped around how big of a production True Detective was going to be. And when you hear a name like Jodie Foster with the filmography that she has, and her name can create silence in a room because she's just got that star power. So you build up this idea of oh my God, I'm meeting Jodie Foster. How do I approach her? What do I say? What do I do? But she's very kind and very generous and a wonderful woman, and made everybody around her very comfortable and at ease. And it's been really nice for me so far in my career, especially jumping into another project where I was the lead, and it was CBC and APTN and Netflix, and that can feel like a lot of pressure. Just taking it one step at a time and not making anything too big, and not attaching too much meaning to anything, just to get through the day.
When people ask where I'm from, I say, think of the furthest place north you've ever been. Now keep going. Keep going. Yep, that's us. Ice Cove, Nunavut, the heart of the Arctic.
So now you are the lead of a show, North to North, which is shot in your hometown at Iqaluit. What's the appeal? What's the upside of being able to do that, or maybe the downside of shooting in your hometown?
I was so excited to go back to Iqaluit to film something. I moved back in with my parents, which was really exciting and fun, and I was really happy to do that. And being able to shoot something that's so community-oriented and grounded in culture, and something that I grew up with and understood so well, was so important. And it was a massive help and grounding point for me in developing Siaya and understanding her story and in understanding the story of North as a whole. And it also was just great to actually have my community around me and supporting me, and at times watching me do the embarrassing thing.
Well, yeah, so there's that, right? So there are people that you know you, who are now seeing you act, which is not a very natural kind of thing, and so potentially embarrassing moments?
Yeah, most days when background would come in, it was people I went to school with. It were my cousins, or it was my cousins. My brother's girlfriend has a role on the show. She plays Judy. So, you know, Siaya goes through so many moments in this show where she's doing really public outbursts, doing really embarrassing things, driving around like a maniac, setting the dump on fire, and having to do that in front of people that I know. And, you know, I know that I'm doing a character, but they kind of just see me doing a character. That was deeply embarrassing and awkward at times. And if I'm blushing in the show, it's because I actually am blushing in real life and I am embarrassed. But I think it helped me just feel more present, which was really nice and really helpful. But it also meant that I felt the support of people, you know, in between takes. They'd be like, oh, good job, oh, I really like that one. And it was just really validating. Hey, am I a loser?
No. Why do you ask?
I just blew up my life without any sort of plan. You know, no job, no ride, no home.
No clue.
Really?
No, she's right. I have no clue what to do next.
You've been studying at the University of Ottawa, international development, and so I think a lot of people in courses like that think about applying those lessons elsewhere in the world. But you see how they can apply to Canada, to the north.
Yeah, when I was picking what I wanted to study for university, international development stood out to me because I, you know, grew up in Ecuador and was so acutely aware of the social issues that were impacting my community, that impact my family, that impact me. And I wanted to understand how development is done in other places and what could be pulled from that to be applied to the north, because there is a similar remoteness, a similar lack of infrastructure, and a similar lack of support. So I wanted to go and learn about how to deal with things, most specifically like housing. The housing crisis in Nunavut, I think, is one of the biggest issues that we're facing in the territory today, because how can you solve everything else when you don't have a safe home to live in, you don't have a place to go back to? How do we end these vicious cycles that cause trauma if we don't have safe homes? Doing international development has also really informed, I think, how I carry myself through creative industries and how I use my platform now to empower community and other communities. So it all kind of weaves together in the end.
You love the north, and now you get to do a show that's north of north. What do you want Canadians, or actually people outside of Canada as well, to know about this place that you love so much?
I think when people imagine, you know, Nunavut, the Arctic, the north, they imagine something quite like desolate and dark and empty. But we have such vibrant communities that are so full of love and joy and laughter. And even though there is a long history of colonialism and trauma, and that does impact our communities deeply, that we manage and we get through it. So I really hope people can see the north as I understand it, as someone from the north, and get a more authentic idea of how we live.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's been a great conversation.
And Anna will be back for North of North's second season. It was greenlit back in April, with production likely to start later this year. Coming up, the race for limitless clean energy and the Canadian company trying to win it. Plus, in waters off Halifax, marine researchers get an unexpected visitor of massive proportions. In our moment. Fusion energy is seen as a renewable power source of the future, clean and potentially limitless. And a Canadian company is turning to a bold new approach to try to get there first.
Where you actually have the conditions where you get more energy out of the reaction than it took to create it.
Johanna Wagstaff explains what fusion means, the potential benefits and challenges, and how a BC company is working to create it.
There's a tech race going on right now. At least 50 companies around the world chasing the same wild dream, clean, limitless energy. Fusion energy could be the next big thing in sustainable power, and Canada is very much in the running. So do we have what it takes to crack it? The answer might be here. This sci-fi looking machine is where Canadian company General Fusion is placing its bet on one of the boldest energy ideas out there. They think they can do what no other company has done yet, essentially creating a star here on Earth. Okay, to understand what I mean, we first need to talk about what is fusion. So really quickly, fusion is when you smash two hydrogen atoms together with such insane force they fuse together. That releases a huge amount of energy at the atomic level, way more than most sources we use today. It's the same concept that powers the sun, and essentially the opposite concept to nuclear fission, where atoms are split apart. Also, fusion uses hydrogen. That's pretty easy to get from water. So we're talking about the potential for sustainable, unlimited energy with no meltdown risk, no long-term radioactive waste, no mining for radioactive ores. That sounds pretty magical, right? Well, there's a catch. The reason no one has been able to do this,
it can't be sustained. We're putting more energy into creating the fusion than actually comes out of the process. So we can start it, but how do we contain it? And how do we contain it for long enough that we can actually get more energy out than we put in to start the fusion reaction?
to get hydrogen atoms to fuse, you need conditions that are hotter than the core of the sun. We're talking hundreds of millions of degrees, and that takes a massive amount of energy. So how is general fusion different?
Behind me is LM26. It will demonstrate fusion conditions in our unique approach called magnetized target fusion, and it will achieve temperatures of 10 million degrees within the next few months, 100 million degrees shortly after that, and ultimately will keep those temperatures, increase the density, and get to fusion conditions that would be considered break-even conditions, where you actually have the conditions where you get more energy out of the reaction than it took to create it, which will be the first private company in the world to achieve that.
Unlike other teams using giant lasers or magnets to do the fusing, General Fusion is betting on a hybrid approach. They're using compression, straight up mashing like a piston that squishes plasma inside molten lithium. This approach is designed to be cheaper, faster, and easier to scale. It's not just a test, though. It's meant to prove that this technology can work outside a laboratory.
Our plan is to put our first power plant on the grid in the mid-2030s. We're on track to do that because of all the work we've done previously has led us to this position now where we've got this machine that over the next 2 years is going to demonstrate break-even fusion conditions, which will be a massive milestone for us and the fusion industry.
They've got backing from governments, private investors, even individuals like Jeff Bezos, because if this works, it could change everything. But let's be real. There's a running joke in the science world. Fusion is always a decade away.
Fusion is unlikely to play a role until probably 2050s, I would imagine. It's important to not take our eye off what is happening now. We have a lot of cost-effective ways of reducing emissions, of cleaning up our electricity system right now. That includes renewables, conventional nuclear, and energy efficiency. And we should not wait for this magical solution that may come up in 20 years. It's also important to recognize that even when fusion is developed and is finally commercialized, which I hope will happen in the next coming decades, it's still going to be very expensive.
So can Canada win the fusion race? It's still anyone's game, but if General Fusion pulls this off, Canada wouldn't just be in the race, it could help change the future of energy.
Since Johanna's story first aired, the BC-based company has scaled back its workforce and operation, citing an uncertain political and market climate. Next, a surprising appearance off the coast of Halifax.
All the guests got their gear on, and we were in that water so quickly.
Their close encounter with a great white shark is our moment. You're looking at a photo taken at the right place at the right time. A great white shark rising out of the water off the coast of Halifax, captured here by a summer research student. The photo and the up-close encounter was a major spectacle for those working with Atlantic shark expeditions. So tonight, their run-in with a great white makes our moment.
It was a very unique encounter. We're not normally looking for great white sharks in the Halifax waters, and we were just obsessing over this blue shark that came by. And within a split second, I just see a great white shark go through my screen, and we freaked. All the guests got their gear on, and we were in that water so quickly. One of the guests screamed, "Oh, it's coming up, it's coming up." All of a sudden, I just have this great image of the moment where, honestly, the moment where I fell in love with that shark. It was amazing.
This individual was, in the true sense, massive, close to approaching 15 feet long, and just an extraordinary animal. It was pretty much ignoring the bait for the most part, lifting its head out of the water to look what's happening above the water. And it was, those types of encounters are special.
I really want him to be seen the way that he actually was, which is just beautiful, graceful, elegant, and powerful. So powerful.
I mean, it's great for those researchers, but I think it's pretty scary stuff. Tracking data actually suggests this is happening more often because Canadian Atlantic waters that used to be too cold for the sharks are now becoming optimal for them, but no cause for alarm at the moment. They typically don't want anything to do with humans, and a shark bite is pretty rare. So we can all breathe a collective sigh of relief. From all of us here at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Asha Tomlinson. Take care.